Hi there, I'm John from CNCKing.com, and today we're going to anneal a very thick metal coaster. My company makes a lot of custom stainless steel coasters. We do have a problem sometimes with customers who have a logo or they want so much content on their coaster that it causes the coaster to actually start warping because of the heat. For instance, my new logo here, as you can see, has a lot of blackness. And here is annealing, and here is etching. So you can see how the two react differently to light. Now if I want to do this logo here on our traditional thin stainless steel coasters, it would actually start to warp, meaning that it starts to actually raise up like this. I have a video of that happening after I show you this one here. So you can actually see it happening to a lesser extreme, but on this thing here it'd just be undoable. Because what happens is that you go from annealing here, which is totally perfect, then you go to etching. Now unless you want something totally etched, then you're fine, but most customers want something annealed because it's nice and smooth, rather than the etching, which is rough. So here's what I did here. It's got a different finish on it. Most of our coasters are number 4 finish, which means that it's a nice polished surface, so it just makes the annealing look really nice. But this one here is just a raw sheet, and we just anneal it directly. So let's take a look at this happening right now. So as mentioned, I already know ahead of time that I cannot put this logo because of so much blackness, not just here, but also on the edging. If you take a look real close, you can see on the edge, there's a nice thick border of black. And because of that, more than anything else, this would not work with that logo. But let's take a look at something else, a palm tree being laser annealed with this. And just pay special attention to the edges. You'll see that I'm not even annealing the edge, but the edge still raises up. So that's why this one here would be a killer, because you actually have annealing happening on the edges, which is where you don't want too much heat to happen to begin with. let's say your spec calls for a very thin gauge metal, but you have something where you have basically this much blackness involved with it. What can you do? Well, the simplest solution that we found, other than going to a thicker grade, which again your spec says you don't want to go to a thicker grade. So what we'll do is we'll use anodized aluminum. Anodized aluminum coasters are great too. Here's one here, and it's exactly the same size as the stainless steel, and it's the same size as the much thicker steel. As you can see by comparison, it's night and day. So anodized aluminum is basically like this. So you end up with like an off-white color when we do the engraving off it. Basically what we're doing is vaporizing off the anodization. The nice thing about anodized aluminum coasters is that we do them in a variety of colors. So this gives you an idea here of what we can do, but this can be coasters, it can just be any shape, any size that you want. And again, the nice thing is, unlike stainless steel, which keeps all the heat, and that's why it starts to warp, anodized aluminum is such a different process that there is no real heat involved with the coaster. We could put as much off-whiteness as you want onto the coaster. So let's take a look at that happening right now. With a lot of our customers, what they want is something very unique coaster-wise. So again, this is no problem at all. But then they say, well, we want something to hold that. So we can also make custom coasters to hold the coaster. So for instance, here's something where you have stainless steel. Put the right orientation here. So stainless steel with a maple, custom maple. And again, this would be a coaster on its own if you want this. Or we can make the other one, or we can make both. And they're all custom to spec. So that means since we do it in here in the shop, let's say you want this in the shape of a triangle and you want this in the shape of a triangle, we can do that and we can make it so that both fit perfectly like this. Now you're not just stuck with steel, we also do a lot of plastic coasters. This is, you can see here, again exactly the same design as the stainless steel. It's just a transparent acrylic and a smoky acrylic. And again, if you wanted this, and you wanted this, we can totally do that, no problem at all. Now it always comes down to price point as well. Obviously, this just raw metal wise costs a lot more than this, and this is, as you can tell, a lot thicker. So this is 1/4 inch. This is maybe 1/16, 1/32. It's almost nothing. It's basically a sheet of paper. So you have varying price points. So if you want some coasters made custom to your spec, it really helps if you tell me, okay, here's how many I want, and here's what my budget is per unit or for the whole project. Because we could also make matching corporate awards, you can make matching whatever you want, custom rubber stamps. Like we could do a whole package for you here that we make here in the shop for you. So you get sort of a volume discount across the board. So again, tell us how many you want, what you want, and what roughly your budget range is. And based on that, I can suggest materials that we can use for that. And the nice thing is, because we make everything here in the shop, we don't import anything other than the raw material. Let's say you had a whole bunch of maple coasters that you wanted made, but at the same time you wanted some corporate awards. Well, if we do them all in the same maple, it'll save you a lot of money because we're not switching 2, 3, 4 different materials. And we could basically use the scraps of one project to make another project. Anyways, contact me at CNCKing.com with your ideas, and we'll make them for you.